welcome back to our Bonneville adventure. Now it's time to meet some legends of the Salt Flats. Right, so this is Jay Allen, who's a bit of a, straight line legend around here, and also quite a big TT fan, which is...
Straight line legend, I love it. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
He's also a bit of a TT fan, which is actually how we came to know Eric and part of the reason why we're here, really. Yeah. So, really, this is partially Jay's fault. And then Dustin over there, who's still trying to work out temperatures and stuff, who's actually quite clever, I think.
Trying to figure out Celsius from
except it's the middle of the day and he's drinking already. So, Jay's the mechanic, but he is a 200-mile-an-hour man himself. But Jay's the one riding this week and setting records already, because yesterday you set a record on your naked bike.
Yeah, yesterday it was a good day. Our goal was to hit 200 miles an hour on the naked bike, and we had a 197 down run plus with a 198 plus coming on the back. So I was a mile and a half or somewhere off the 200 mark. But, considering the conditions and as good as this salt is, you can look at the bikes and see how much is up on them. It's not like rock. It's not like going out on a street. If you don't know anything about Bonneville, this place will humble you. In fact, our Isle of Man riders that call us straight riders, they're having their challenges out here right now on the salt. And not just Eric, but I've seen other Isle of Man people come here and they're like, this is more than we bargained for. This isn't what we imagined. It's a challenge in itself, and it's something like they've been doing since 1914. But anyway, our bear bike back there is just handlebars and foot pegs. We did good. We got a world record, and we got also an M8 record. So this is the challenge right here. It's so sensitive, and we just made, I think we're right now the second fastest bike of the meet was 217.8 or 999 or something, just under 218, but that's not near what we need out of this bike. So he did the download, and we were running 8 pounds of boost. So he put some more spring to it so we can get up there around 13, 14 pounds. And if I can just keep this thing straight and keep into it, Lord willing, we'll get up in the 230s to 240. That's the goal. That's the talking part.
Yes, you keeping things straight is entirely the goal.
So together we've set, oh my God, 20 plus records, huh, Dustin? Just since we've been together, I'm at 53. We're at 65 records total, Veterans of America Racing. But yeah, Dustin's racking them up really quick, and he's not just a builder; he's a rider. So we've made a great team. We get along pretty good. We are literally like a couple of hillbillies out of Arizona, and yet I'm embarrassed to say, but I think we're some of the fastest guys out here, right?
That's pretty embarrassing, yes.
Yeah, so we get results, but we're pretty hokey. We really are.
Partially streamlined bike. Underneath the fairing's really the important part, but this motor is a 119 cubic inch, which comes out to about 1960-ish cubic centimeters. S&S cases, motors, bores. It's based on their 124 inch, and they de-stroke it a little bit so it'll fit into the class rules. Turbocharged, it's a Garrett G660 turbo, which is that's capable of about 61 pounds a minute. So if we were feeling insane, we could turn it up to 500 horsepower. It would kill them. It wouldn't work very well. Other differences: air-to-water intercooler setup. I believe you talked about it. Another little deal. Big 5-gallon ice reservoir hanging out behind here that we fill with quick disconnect fittings.
Into there, presumably?
Yep, it actually makes a really good Ghibli chiller. When on the hot days when you take the seat off, you can actually sit there and it feels really good. Radiator portion up in the front, actually, because it's an air-cooled motor, we can block off all the air actually coming through it to make the drag a little bit less and cool the air with that way, where it used to have an air-to-air. Other than that, it's basically a glorified tractor. 2 cylinders, lots of boost, fuel that barely burns when you put fire to it. 116 octane to 118 octane leaded fuel. Right around 15 pounds of boost. This thing will make, it's made about 350 horsepower, almost 300 foot-pounds of torque, maybe 290-ish, give or take. Converted to chain drive, lock-up clutch, old wheels off of maybe a bend-up SV650, I think we were thinking, or GS500, old Suzuki bike. It's really just a collection of really terrible parts that goes awfully fast. I don't know exactly how it does it, other than it does it.
This is horse and buggy technology, but what I find funny is all the technology out here is having issues, and less is more. As you get older, you know that, but am I right?
I mean, it's not like we're not having issues.
No, tell them. Less is more.
There.
I'm Al Lamb. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I own Dallas Honda. I've been a Honda motorcycle dealer 44 years, and we're at Bonneville. I think this is probably my 27th or 8th trip to the Salt. And this is our bike we call Little Red. We have two Honda 1000s, turbocharged 1000s, Little Red and Big Red. Little Red were originally built for Leslie Porterfield that was riding for me, and then we ran that starting in 2010 and 2012. It became the fastest sit-on motorcycle in the world, and it's still the fastest sit-on bike AMA FIM ever run at Bonneville. So it's had a two-way average of 262, one-way at 265. Then in 2014 we built Big Red, which has been 285 at Bolivia, and that's what we're trying to run today. And we're struggling with chassis setup. We've changed some things on it, and now we're trying to sort it all back out. But this is a based on a CBR 1000. This one runs about a 60 millimeter Garrett turbo. It's all Motec. We data log about 22 channels every run. Has auto shift, has traction control. So once everything's tuned and done right, it's actually pretty easy to ride if the salt's not bad. The reason this one is called Big Red versus the other one, it's got a 5-inch extension here in the front where we've lengthened the frame. That's strictly to try to make it comfortable for me to ride it, and even still, I'm way big to be doing this. You know, had somebody much smaller racing it. These bikes will make about, if we throw full boost at them, about 500 horsepower at the wheel.
So compared to standard Honda, is everything in the engine different?
No, actually
what's
the engine,
standard?
surprisingly enough, the engine is not that much different than stock. We port the cylinder head, we run Corilla rods in it or Falicon rods, we run turbo pistons, and we run the HRC diaphragm clutch spring, and we stack a second one on top of that. So we run double the clutch pressure of an HRC. Gearbox is pure stock, it's uncut, clutch basket, everything's stock, valve train is all stock, crankshaft stock, no problems, it's a Honda.
I made a pass at 217.9 earlier, and he found that we needed more boost. So I said, man, give me more boost, and goddamn did he give me more boost. I'm out there at 222 miles like this, and I keep turning the throttle, and it keeps going, yeah, just keep turning, and I never hit the end of that throttle. I never pegged it, and just as I'm coming out of the mile, I hear a big bang, and it's like someone took a hammer and just slammed me right on the top of the foot, my left foot, and that's what hit my foot. And again, bad luck, but good luck. You know, I'm standing here talking to you. We can laugh about it. Lord willing, the motor's fine. You know, we might need a new clutch basket and stuff.
Ooh, there's teeth missing.
Oh yeah, the teeth look really bad in the back primary sprocket. But anyway, that's land speed racing. I know it's nothing new to you guys.
But there is a reason that you run a cover on your primary.
Absolutely. And hey, I was running 222.693 miles an hour, and I got to tell you, that's exhilarating for a 67-year-old man. Life is good.
So this is where he tucks his left foot, and that's the case that for you, those of you that aren't Harley savvy, they use a chain drive to tie the engine and the transmission together, and this goes around the clutch basket in the back. And it exited the bike, well, I'd probably say at 56, maybe 5,700 RPM, and then exited the race course. That's that.
That's what's left of the primary drive double chain. There's some more bits in there. There's quite a few snapped off bolts.
There's some more of it.
I'm Ashley Woodford with Buell Brothers Racing, and I ride a 95 Buell S2 in the 1350 P-PG class. Today I did a down run of 142 and change. I did a return run of 136, which now the record's 139.657.
So it's going all right then?
Yeah, it is. I'm not blowing up. I'm just slowly upping the record.
The things we've changed for today's run, we've put the big TT screen on, because when we took some photos of Eric last night, sat on the bike, he's looking through the screen, but the top of his helmet's sticking out a bit. So bigger screen, so that should keep some of the wind off his head and off his shoulders a little bit, so hopefully that'll help with the aero. We've also, in a bid to get some rear grip, there's a ride height adjuster at the bottom of the shock down there that you can't see. So I've lowered the shock as far as it goes to try and get the bike to sit a little bit flatter. So it should help a little bit with traction, and it might even help a little bit with aero. And other than that, we've put the tyre pressure in the rear up a little bit back to where we basically had it earlier yesterday, and we've pumped the front up because it's not actually ever really got any load on it, so we need the smallest contact patch possible. So we're now at 45 psi in the front, 30 in the rear, but we set them cold because we're not running warmers and bits. And that's it. Right, now we've really just got to get Eric to pull his finger out a little bit, see if we can crack the 180. Just waiting for Eric to set off for his next run. We've pushed the front brake pads back away from the discs a little bit, so the front brake won't work, but he won't need it. But it might, you know, reduce the absolute last bit of friction. It's all worth doing. Right, just waiting for the flag now.
Come on, 180s.
Bike 155, Session Engineering Eric Wilson came in at 182.667. 182.667.
That'll do. That is the fastest recorded speed Eric has ever done. Happy days!
He did it. Woo!
Yeah, screen definitely makes a good difference. You know, you can definitely feel the wind sort of pushing me across the track a little bit, and obviously she's still sitting flat out 12 and a quarter, 12 and a half, so we could probably try a little bit on the gearing, pull it, and I could feel it still spinning in 6th gear. So, but I knew coming across into the clock mile, she was 186 on the dash, and I kept it up above 180 the whole way through. So it didn't drop down like it was doing yesterday. So there definitely was a little bit more grip this afternoon than there was yesterday. So 180 plus was the goal. So at the 4th attempt, I'm happy with that.
That's it?
Yeah.
Ice cream and trophies?
Of course.
Here we go. First early morning run for us on the International, which, you know, pretty much the same course. It's the same length at the moment because we're using we're starting at mile 2, but we're told the salt's a little bit better on this course, and with it being first thing in the morning, it should be pretty good. So here we go, under the sun. The boys on the pipe. Right, I have the timing slip, and even though, right, you think it's slower, don't you?
Yeah.
But it's not, it's 183.6, so it's basically the same.
Yeah.
Which actually, depending on which of the timing points they use, it's actually a mile an hour faster than yesterday.
All right.
So we're 183 on both. So yeah, maybe it's the cool air, maybe that course is a little bit grippier than we think, but yeah, that's actually not too bad.
No, it's just the excessive wheel spin more so than yesterday.
Cool.
But no, it's the same as yesterday. It's okay.
That'll do.
Don't like going backwards.
Congratulations on a new record.
Yeah, we back it up. So we bumped up the FIM and AMA records a bit, but everything turned out good. I can't be any happier. The crew is awesome.
Brilliant. Congratulations, well done.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Right, here comes Al Lamb on his Fireblade at the start of his big run. So, here he comes. He's 2 mile in at this point.
There he goes.
Yeah, that looks quite quick already. Right, we're not far off now. Eric's second run of the day. The only difference is the rear tyre pressure. Let's see if it hooks up a little bit more. We're basically at the same start point again because Eric seemed to think that the tyre pressure drop was actually better through the measured mile, so we're sticking with that. We have changed gearing though. We're not running out of revs yet, but I'm hoping that this longer gearing will just sort of calm it down a little bit, and hopefully it'll pull it all right and we'll clock a higher top speed. That's the whole point. The only downside is, because we've gone smaller on the sprocket, we've had to move the wheel back in the swinging arm, which is going to give us less grip on the rear wheel, but I'm kind of hoping the sort of slightly more docile nature will offset that. We will find out in a few minutes. With the altered gearing, even though he said it's not revving out particularly, it's only pulling just over 12,000 and it will rev to 14, was 183.6, so within 0.1 of a mile an hour of the first run this morning, but with a 2.3 mile an hour headwind. So in effect, this one and that one, they're the two good runs, both 183.6.7, but we've got a 4 mile an hour worse wind for the second run. So on that longer gearing, especially if we get a bit of tailwind, we should be going rather briskly. So just before Eric goes for his next run, there's just a couple of little extra mods I've done. I've added some gaffer tape to fill in some holes. So we'll see if that makes a massive difference, though probably not. So Eric's last run clocked 178 with a 5 mile an hour headwind, but on the speedo the bike gets to 186 mile an hour and doesn't go any faster. So what we've done for this one, thinking there may still be the speed limiter on, is disconnect the wheel speed sensors. So now Eric is meditating because he won't be able to see the speedo, but more importantly he won't have any electrical aids. So there is no traction control, it's back to old school. How much fun could that be? Right then, piece of paper says 181, near enough dead on, but with a 5 mile an hour headwind. So, you know, we're going faster even though we're going slower.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
If you happen to be a Mad Max fan, Bonneville is just the place for you because you have lovely things like this floating around. So this is a 6-cylinder inline Kawasaki engine from the, I believe, mid-early 80s. There's a big air inlet that actually only supplies air into the oil cooler. There's massive lumps of weight stuck to it because weight on the Salt isn't a bad thing because it gives you grip. They say that. Our bike seems to go alright without it. Down the back there is much scaffolding, more massive lumps of billet, a surprisingly small little wheel spindle in there, more large pieces of metal, a gear lever of some description, a sort of linkage down the bottom here, down there, and then this arrangement is the drive shaft, because you've got your drive sprocket in there, and then it comes through these two like outrigger bearings, and this would be the drive chain, but it's clearly fallen off, and I suspect that's fallen off because this doesn't look terribly straight and it's probably pulled the end off it. So I think that's probably why it's on a trailer. The rest of it, there's carbs up here with an air inlet that's pointing backwards, so that when the bike's going at any speed you don't get any air into it. So that's an idea. There's, you know, fuel lines and a lanyard and an on-off switch held on with a Jubilee clip and lock wire. So yeah, if you're feeling brave, I'd imagine this is the sort of thing you might want to ride. If you have any self-preservation, probably not. So Dustin's just putting Jay's bike back together because they've had to take the cylinders off and bits to get it measured to make sure it's class legal. So how much did you pay them to measure it wrong?
$100.
$100? That's good value for a new record.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's part of our expenditure.
Yeah. So you budget that in every year, you know.
$100, and it's a $100 bill.
Yeah.
That's a secret, so don't
Oh,
say.
okay. We won't tell anybody. Promise. So if you're paying the officials $100, how much do you have to pay Dustin?
Well, he's got something on the side. He's doing consulting and getting $50 bills like all the time. Oh.
Not from you though.
No, not from me.
Oh, okay.
But I do reciprocate. I try and feed him good, and I buy him cocktails.
Oh yeah.
He's pretty happy with that.
That's probably worth a lot more than $50.
Oh God, yes. With him, that man can eat and drink. Holy cow.
It's time for me to give the BMW a little bit of love and a little bit of an appreciation for what it's been able to do. So this is a TT Superstock bike, so it spent a few years hounding around the Isle of Man, setting sort of over 120 mile an hour laps, which it did pretty damn well. And then a couple of years ago we put flat handlebars on it, took it to Pikes Peak and went up the world's highest hill climb, which it did really well. During that event we also rode it all the way across America, so it did coast to coast, sort of 4,500 miles, which it did really, really well. And this week we've brought it to Bonneville, covered it in salt, kept doing 180 mile an hour passes on it, and you know, it's now a speed racer bike. This thing is pretty much brilliant. If you want a bike that does almost anything, and we do mean almost anything, can't really go wrong with an orange BMW. From me and Eric, we'd like to say a big thank you for everybody here, because it's a great event at a real unique location. We've met some wonderful people, including Jay and Dustin, Big Al and all the people in the paddock. This is one of the most friendly places you will ever come to see bikes. It's also so incredibly unique. We've been really privileged to be here. So these guys are going to wave goodbye to us, and hopefully one day we'll be back. Me and Eric have just had an epiphany that everybody comes to Bonneville because it's a great place to go incredibly fast because it's so wide and open. But to get to the wide open bit, what they've done is they've put like a 4 or 5 mile stretch of straight tarmac in to give us access. And the irony is, because the surface is better on the tarmac, on a bike that's like rear wheel drive or wheel driven, you'd probably actually be faster on the access road than we would be on the salt.
Oh, wait up, hold on, there's a corner coming up.
There's a corner!
What do we do? I forgot.
Thanks for watching, and join us again soon for some more motorbike fun.